like, it's so wild because I remember like, even just like at the beginning of your journey, like being like, oh my God, I remember those bracelets from college.
Yeah. Yeah. We should probably tell your listeners that we went to college together. We were in the same sorority.
Yeah.
And
And
you
you
were,
didn't live in our basement or anything for a bit.
no, right. Oops. You definitely were already in the sorority when I was joining.
Yeah.
But you, so you were how much older than me? 2
I think
years?
I'm just a year or two. I walked in graduation in 2010.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, so 2 years. I was 2012.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's where Little Words Project started
Yeah. In the
at
basement.
that school with that chapter, that sorority, and the fact that, and like we kept in touch. And then I found out and Carly was becoming kind of major around the 2013
Mm-hmm.
year as well. And I remember being like, oh my God, wait, that's Amanda's sister. Like, it's so funny. And so we started sending bracelets through you to Carly and then to you. And then your mom, literally your mom and I are besties.
I know she's literally one of the people that I give like gratitude for every single day. She's definitely listening to this right now.
Mhm.
So hashtag proud mama. I
Yeah.
fucking love you. But I wouldn't be where I am without her, especially. But yeah, no, like you were sending the bracelets early on, and that's what I was saying. Like with that passion bracelet, that was one of the first ones I think I ever got. And it was
I think that was when you were still like, you were doing the resume business primarily.
yes, and it was definitely like within like a month or two after I got out of rehab. So
Okay. Yeah.
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 So like it took on like a whole new meaning for me because I was like, I found my awakening.
Yeah, no,
You
and I mean
know?
that makes a lot of sense, and that's so special. I feel like we have so many incredible stories of women who associate their bracelets with moments of transition in their life that like are just so significant that, like you, end up keeping all of your vintage older bracelets because they just like got you through so much. And like, even though the whole concept is you're supposed to pass them on, and I know you've passed on plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But even though that concept is supposed to pass them on, it's still so nice to see women that like just lean into how much they meant to them, and, holding on to those memories and keeping them in these little time capsules. It's very special. So yeah, no, it is wild. It's wild when you think about where it started. It's wild when you think about like us being in like the diamond at TC&J,
Little
like the name of our
babies,
sorority
right?
house, little babies.
Yeah.
But you were always so supportive and kind to me then too. And I remember those people, you know what I mean? That really just always left a lasting impact of kindness and support, because so many women are not that way. We're not that way. Some of our like own older, like some of the older girls in our sorority were not that way. So
Right.
you always were. So thank you for that.
And thank you for saying that.
Of course.
But I am just really honored that you wanted to take the time and come on here because like you are like now the sweetest woman in the universe.
Oh, sweetest woman alive with
Sweetest woman alive.
edible arrangements. That's their name, not mine.
But I mean, I happen to agree. You're really
Oh,
sweet.
thank you. Thank you. Yes, it was very cool. It was such a cool
Yeah.
thing. They reached out to me. It was like, we're doing this campaign for Sweetest Woman Alive. I'm the first woman. The last one they did, the Sweetest Man Alive, or the Sweetest Person Alive, I think it was, or Sweetest Man, I don't know, but it's the guy who plays Winston on New Girl. Do you know the show New Girl? You've got to watch it if you don't or didn't. It's like,
I know the show.
okay,
I know.
so freaking good.
It's so
But
cute.
Winston was the last one. So I was like, oh, I feel like really in like cool company. That's awesome. But yeah, thank you. Now that was a very cool opportunity that they gave us. And it's just so freaking crazy to think about. Like, again, it all started with, plastic on a string is what we say.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
let's see.
now, like, I want, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to just give like a little intro to who you are. I mean, they've heard us now talking probably for a couple minutes and they're like, well,
Who is this?
I get the fact that there's bracelets involved, but like
Totally.
let's talk about how you're now like probably the biggest bracelet company in the world, I'm sure. I
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
Swift was wearing your bracelets. Like that's a big fucking deal. So
That's true.
excuse my language. I'm sorry. There's no kids around. And then like the truck driver mouth comes and then I start spelling Fuck because now
Yeah.
Julie's using fucking context. So that's great.
Wait, I love that. And it's such a Jersey thing of us to say because I'm the same exact way and I curse at, like a potty mouth. And we actually had a customer that was upset with us because we have be fucking nice on a bracelet. And I'm like, oh, I can't. I'm sorry. I know, but they're just words. I don't know. I have a very different perspective on it than most moms and most people do, but I am trying to keep my son from saying bad words. Well, let me say I'm not trying yet, but the second he does like what you said Julian does, I'm gonna have to be like, oh, I have to really change it
Girl,
up.
me and Brett looked at each other because it was just so random. And then he's like runs over to the humidifier because we had one like in the corner of the room when Cameron was in the bassinet. And I was like, Julian, no, because I knew he was about to spill the water over. And he spills the water over. Me and Brett are standing there and I'm like this. And he goes, oh, fuck. And I look at Brett and I'm like, who taught him that? He goes, I didn't teach him that. I'm like, I didn't teach him that. And now he says it all the time, but like we ignore it because if we bring attention to it, he's going to do it more.
Yeah.
So
Wait, that's hysterical though. Oh my God, babies are so funny. I love them. Anyway, okay, wait.
tell us who you are.
Again. Yeah. We're just taking too much time catching up. Okay, so my name is Adriana Carrig. I'm the founder and CEO of Little Words Project, which I wouldn't say is the biggest bracelet company in the world, but definitely
She's being modest. She's being
no.
modest.
We built a brand. I built the brand on one singular product, which is a beaded word bracelet. You've seen these bracelets, I'm sure, everywhere. You maybe didn't know that it was a Little Words bracelet, or perhaps it's a knockoff or someone else making them, because, you know, unfortunately, they are very replicable. That said, you know, 8 years ago, or sorry, rather, 10 years ago, this year is 10 years. 10 years ago, when I was starting this in my parents' basement, I really struggled to get people on board with the look and the feel. And everyone was always like, this is, you know, kind of childish. Are you sure you want to make them look like this and not like this? And, you know, what have you. And I really just felt committed to that look and feel. And I had started a version of the brand in my college sorority, as we kind of touched on, where Amanda was one of my sisters. And it really just brought us back to those like nostalgia times, right? Where we were young girls and we were supporting each other and being nice to each other. When you use them as friendship bracelets, when you came together and beaded a bracelet with someone, you know, usually it was pure and kind. And, you know, when we had other moments in life with younger, you know, when we were younger, I'm sure all of you have experienced some version of just negativity from other girls, myself included. You know, it's just, the bracelets were intended to bring us back to the good times and not the bad times. And that's kind of what they are. So the idea is each one has a different inspirational word on it. You're supposed to wear it for as long as you need that word and then pass it on one day to someone who needs it more than you do. So really sweet pay it forward concept. Each one also comes with a little unique code on the tag that you can use to register the bracelet on our website. And then when you pass it along, you can actually track and see where it goes. So Amanda, I'm sure you have like very early numbers. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you check your tag numbers. I'm sure you have like, before we started using codes, you probably have like 200 something.
No, I think it starts with a 1 actually. And the reason why I say that is because you said you're coming up. When's the 10-year date for Little Words?
The November 11th of this year.
Yeah, so I got clean April 6th, 2013. So it'll be 10 years this year. So it was all within the same year that we started getting bracelets from you, because I specifically remember taking a picture, like a mirror pic in my bedroom at my parents' house, and I was going to a suicide prevention experience or workshop, and I was wearing I think I was wearing the passion word.
Wow.
So
Oh my God, you have to check for me because I am like, now I kind of, because in the beginning we didn't use different codes. So I'm sorry, like codes in the sense of like letters and word and numbers combined. In the beginning, it was just sequential numbers. So I literally still have number 1 and number 3. My best friend has number 2. I know where number 7 is. Like I know where some of these numbers are because it was those early days of those early adopters. So if you have a 1 in front of it, you could potentially have like a 16. Like you could have like a 32, like or whatever.
I don't
like,
think it's a 2 number one. I don't think so, but I'm
okay.
pretty sure when I looked at it, it was a 1. And I'm so mad at myself that I didn't. But you know what? When I go home, I'm gonna like make a little voice recording and we'll just like have me cheering what number it is.
Yeah. No, I can't wait. That's so fun. But yeah, no, it's been a journey for sure. It's been a long journey. 10 years is a long time. And what started in my parents' basement, you know, with nothing but my dad is the shipping department and my mom is the manufacturing department. And me, you know, helping to make, you know, keep the business going. What started as that 10 years later, we've got, you know, a staff of 50 plus full-time people, mostly and predominantly women. We've got 7 retail stores nationwide. We have really just turned into, you know, we're sold in Nordstrom and Target. And it's just really turned into a force and a sisterhood of the masses, which, you know, was why I wanted to bring it to the public in the first place. You know, it was a sorority thing at first with us. But it all came from a place of me wanting to bring kindness back into girl world and knowing how much I experienced, how much negativity I experienced growing up from other girls. I just really wanted to create something that brought some kindness back. And very luckily it's working.
It is working. And if you don't know Little Words Project, please go check them out. I have like a whole display here. I send them to all of my students when they enroll. When they graduate, they get to pick out another word for themselves. It's like one of the things, I'm just like obsessed. I love it so much. I love the concept so much because of the mission behind it. And I think that's like the most important thing, right? Because people are connecting to you as a human and why you decided to create such a powerful and kind business, right? And it didn't, and it was just like all about staying committed to your vision too. And I think the what I really wanted to talk about today, you know, of course, like all about you, all about the babies, all about all the things. But I've been following your journey for now a decade, which is crazy. And it's right, like 10 like that 10 years. Like that's a big deal. Like that's a big deal, girl.
100%. No, I appreciate that. And I think where you're headed with that is that it's been the same thing the whole time. Is that what you were about to say? Like,
well, I was gonna say like just the commitment to your vision. And what I was thinking was because I know so many of the women and some men, but mostly women who listen to this podcast, which is
and mostly women who wear my product. So it's the same.
Right.
But I also some men.
What's really funny, Adriana, is that a couple weeks ago, I got a text message from one of Brett's best friends saying, I was just listening to your podcast. And I was like, I was like, well, I hope you're not telling Brett anything I say about him on that thing. He definitely doesn't look at it or listen to it.
That is so funny. Yeah. I have my Mariah, who's my first employee, and I have a podcast as well called Blow Through It. And whenever we find out that guys listen, we're like, oh my, like, it's like it makes you feel weird because it's so like a girl moment that you have with each other. But anyway, so go ahead.
But about commitment to the vision, because I know there's a lot of purpose-driven women who listen to this podcast. They love hearing all about the journey and they love hearing everything about business and growing the business and all the things. But I know for me, when I started my journey into entrepreneurship, this had to be, I don't know, like 8 years ago, where I was like, I know that the corporate world or what society says I'm supposed to do as a college graduate. I graduated, by the way, in 2015 when I finally realized I didn't have my diploma.
Yeah.
I was literally like a half a credit short and I'm like, fuck, I need to get that shit. But anyway, But when they're like, I don't want to do what society tells me I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I graduated college, but like, I don't want to go and get that corporate job. Like, I have this vision to create something that's meaningful for me. And at least for me, I spent like the better half of a decade searching for fulfillment in the corporate world, knowing that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I tried all the things under the sun to like plot my escape. But what I knew in my heart was that I was meant to do something bigger than filing papers and like making appointments for, someone else. And I just never gave up. And that's how I'm sitting here right now. And that's how you're sitting there right now. And what that means, or what I'm trying to say, is like the commitment to what we want to create is so big. The purpose behind it is so big. Like, how did you stay like so committed to the overall goal, like coming from your parents' basement and, grinding it out at all of the trade shows? Like, where did you find that fuel?
It's a great question, and such a good point across the board. Like, you don't have to stick to that traditional route if you know in your heart it's not for you. You know what I mean? Like, I even think about that with my own son. Like, how am I going to enable him to follow his dreams and his passions without putting that crazy importance on to traditional education? Because it's not necessarily, you don't learn the most necessarily in college. I mean, I've learned the most in this experience. Yeah. But
He's, not to cut you off, but he's actually going to learn because he's going to model you, because you set such a standard to yourself that like, I am my own best friend. I follow through with what I say I'm going to do. I have a vision. I'm going to show up for that. And like, no one's going to tell me that I can't do something because you've done that. He's going to learn that from you, and that's going to set the bar for him.
Well, thank you for saying that. I love that you said that. And that's also kind of the answer to my question. Like, your question, I really do believe that I am my own best friend. No one's going to tell me no. And if people do tell me no, I'm going to just show them why it's a yes, actually. I really don't see obstacles anymore. And I think it does come from a lifetime of being bullied and kind of being belittled and made to feel like I was less than or not as good. And then when I just made the active, conscious decision to flip that narrative and just flip that switch, it really turned into just everything that I did that was in the positive direction for Little Words Project exercised a muscle for me that made me feel more and more and more confident that I could do it. So the more, and even though we had setbacks along the way, I really tried to not focus on those as anything other than learning opportunities that was going to teach me something that I could fix for next year. But every time we had a positive customer review, or I made a great connection, or I had a great brand partnership, or these doors started opening, it really helped me feel like I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing, so it's almost like putting the most weight in the positive and almost no weight in the negative.
Yeah.
And then that positive weight just becomes a mass, and it becomes almost like a snowball effect, right? Like it's just a snowball rolling down the hill. So, as hard as it's been, and as much as there have been times where I've been like, I don't want to do this anymore. I, for the most part, really, truly believe that it was my belief in myself, my belief in this business, and what we as a community had created together, because it is the community at the end of the day. All of that has really led me to just keep going. And then it's like I said, it's all just this like self-fulfilling cycle, because the more you keep going, the more positive happens. The more positive happens, the more you keep going. So it would take a really huge negative, I think, to knock it all over. But I mean, I've had some close calls, I guess I could say, but for the most part, it's really been just this natural snowball, a train that has just kept going, and I couldn't get off it if I tried.
It's like the little engine that could, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Believing
right? But it blows my mind, because what you're saying is essentially manifestation in a nutshell.
Yep.
Right?
I'm a huge believer in manifestation.
Yeah.
Huge.
So I just want to let everybody know out there that if somebody tells you that you can't have a negative thought or negative energy one day, and that's going to prevent you from manifesting the life beyond your wildest dream, they don't know what the fuck about manifestation, because what it all comes down to is the belief in yourself and the belief that that thing that you want is going to happen. Like, you are a human, you have a full-blown human, like, you're here to live the human experience and the human, like, the full spectrum of emotions, right? So if you feel negative one day, you woke up PMSing, you're like, fuck my life, but you still believe in that thing that you're creating, like, you're an example of that.
You just gotta go back to the belief, you know,
Yep.
like the negative came and the
Oh,
negative
yeah.
still comes. And my husband actually now 2 years ago, he left his job in corporate America. He worked at Blackstone Private Equity. He had a really great career path ahead of him, but we looked at what we had just had our baby. COVID was just coming back. Like, people were just going back into the office, and we were like, why are you going to commute into the city every day when we've got a really profitable, really, we're sitting on a gold mine really with this business, that if we could just have your brain on it with me, we could take it. There's no telling where we would take it. And with the addition of him, it expanded my own sense of what was possible, because, at some point you can only do so much that you feel like you're capable of on your own. You need to be hiring people, and good people, good talented people. And because we bootstrapped the business, meaning there was no outside capital from the very beginning, I really had to find these people at an affordable rate. And I could never have hired someone of my husband's caliber at the rate I got him for if he wasn't married to me. So anyway, long story short, when he
shout out to him.
Huge shout out to him. When he joined, that's when things really started to blow up for us. I mean, we opened our retail stores. I never would have thought that was possible, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is, like, leaning into the things that bring expansion to you and what you think whatever along the journey, yes, things will knock you down, but focus on the things that lift you up. Let something knock you down. I've been knocked down more times than I can count, but I stay focused on the things that I know lift me up time and time again. Or I take another look at the registration stories of how a bracelet got someone through infertility or cancer, or one of the many other things that, women have to struggle with, divorce, whatever it might be. Yeah. I focus on that positive, and that's really what helps expand the mind and belief of what's possible. I focus on the fact that I've got another person on the team that can finally help me learn or understand more than I knew yesterday. And that's also focusing on the positive and leading with that open heart expansion of what is possible for you, and taking the negative and flipping it on its head. Like, yes, I had a awful experience growing up, getting bullied my entire life, but what do? You flip the switch and you say, I'm going to make something of that. And what did I do? Created Little Words Project. And I don't know. I just think that when you do that enough and you take the negative and you flip it on its head, you start to really realize that, like, you're completely in control of your destiny and of your happiness.
Yeah, it's like turning that pain into power. And I feel like those of us who have been through that pain have really learned how to, like, truly feel into the light, right? The dark, you can't enjoy the light without the darkness, right? And at the end of the day, what it all comes down to also is, like, if you're not getting knocked down, then you're, like, for me at least, my dreams aren't big enough. It means I'm not reaching high enough. And, like, it all comes down to, like, that comfort zone conversation too, right? If you're not stepping outside of your comfort zone, you're not learning new things, you're not experiencing even more than you could have ever imagined, right? If, like, we set the bar this high, maybe we'll meet it. But if we set the bar this high, maybe we'll meet it. And if we set the bar way up to the ceiling, it's like that.
If the higher you set the bar, it's like that one beautiful quote, reach for the stars and maybe you'll land somewhere around among the clouds.
Something like that. Reach for the moon and then you'll land among the stars.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's so beautiful. Like, yes, set the bar as high as you can set it. Race after that thing. But if you keep yourself stopped and you put your own ceilings, I mean, we have as women, there's plenty of ceilings put ahead of us that we didn't put there. We were not the contractors on that job. Okay. But yet we have to break through them. So when we have our own opportunity, my mom always told me I was the architect of my own destiny. We have our own I know my mom is really just like you. I owe her everything. Especially when it comes to what I believe about myself and what's possible. But if we have the ability to create our own destiny in any way, shape, or form, then like, let's set that ceiling high, right?
Mhm.
Let's go after the biggest and best. And even if we fail, quote, you're still gonna find yourself somewhere that you never would have expected being if you didn't take that leap and take that risk.
Right. So it goes on like onto the like the saying or the like the topic of, if you don't say yes to yourself, if you're saying no, then there's no chance you'll ever get a yes. Right. Or if you're not taking that step, or if you're not giving it a try, that's for me the only definition of failure, is never having given myself a shot. Because if I'm at least taking that step forward, or opening the door and exploring the opportunities, maybe dipping my toe in, I'm getting some sort of information, some sort of feedback, as far as like giving myself the chance, right? But if the door never opens, it's not like the opportunities are coming, like literally they're like, opportunities not going to come knocking on your door, but like that's actually true
Yeah,
unless
no,
you're asking for it.
you literally have to knock down those doors and
Yeah.
or like let the universe know that, or God, or whatever you believe in,
Yep.
or yourself, that you are open to it, right? So even if it's like you're leaving your door open, that's still a way. Like if you're not one of these people that's ready to like jump feet first into a new reality for yourself, you know, I think just like showing the universe and showing yourself that you're willing to make a change when that opportunity comes, whether that's, you know, speaking it aloud, you know, like talking to people and saying like, yeah, you know, I'm when someone asks you how you're doing at work, like being honest and saying, I'm good, but you know, I don't know, I'm just looking for something that can really light me up. You never know who, or, you know, who's listening and who
Yeah.
needs someone, or you could meet me and I could need someone to, I keep acting like I'm somebody special, but like,
But you
what I,
are.
thank you.
But everybody here and everyone
Everybody
who's
is.
listening is
You're
somebody
right.
special.
Right. I try to stay away from I language because I
Yeah.
do believe that I did this, but I also would not have done it or could not have done it without the community of
Right.
customers and the team that we built.
Totally.
So, but what I'm saying is you could meet someone on my team and find out that there's an opening at a company that actually would make you feel appreciated. And even if you're doing the same job, but somewhere different, you never know what doors could open for you from that path.
Totally.
So it's just like always talking to people, always putting it out there. And, you know, you never know what'll stick. And that really is manifestation too. You know, it's like completely believing in what's possible.
Yeah. So do you have any practices that you do on a daily basis that help you to stay committed to your
Uh,
belief?
I wish I was a practice girly, like a person who like had a routine, but I am so all over the place. I need you, honestly, to give me those practices. I will say I've always been really big on positive affirmations, and like if
Okay.
I'm feeling low, I will look myself in the mirror and say like, you've got this, you're a badass. There is nobody who's going to tell you no. And if they do, you're going to prove them wrong. That is definitely something I've gotten from my mom for sure. But those are things that when I do have those moments of lowness, I'll kick those practices into gear. But right now I'm just trying to get through pregnancy. And
Oh my God. Like, please. Wait, how far along are you right now?
I am 6 months. So I'm about to enter the third try. I think I'm like 27 weeks. It's
So
so
what
funny.
are
The second
are
one,
you
I
due
like
at
died.
at July? Is that
End
July?
of June.
End of June.
He's a Cancer. So we'll see. But also another boy like you. So we're boy mamas.
I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest.
I'm really excited about it. At first I was like, okay, I would love to have one of each and be done, but I still think I'm going to be done.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have boys.
Are you going to be done after this?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot, you know, and especially it depends on what the next journey is for me and as a business owner. And, you know, it's just a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces. It's a lot of showing up and trying to give your 100% to everything you do. And that is also very hard as moms in business, as moms, as female entrepreneurs who are also mothers.
Yes.
It's a totally another layer because you're so used to, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're used to being like your baby is your business. And that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
If you're a mom, in addition to being an entrepreneur, your baby is your baby, and your business has to take a little bit of a back seat, or something's taking a little bit of a backseat. And that's really hard to wrestle with. Right. So I'm very lucky and grateful. Like I've leaned on my village, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. And that's like my biggest piece of advice always for moms that like ask.
Just ask.
But at the end of the day, it's still like, you know, you don't want to bite off too much more than you can chew, because then you kind of set yourself up for that feeling of failure. And the more you do that, the more you fill that feeling cup, right, of that failure feeling, the harder it is to see and focus on that positive, like you were saying.
Yeah, my mentality on like that failure thing, like it's okay to like like fall short, right?
Yes.
But what it comes down to is like, and I think you would totally resonate with this, is like the 51% more faith than fear. Like it's okay to be fearful, it's okay to be scared, it's okay to like not 100% believe in it 100% of the time, right? Because like shit comes up, shit gets real, and like as a mom, like at least I'm going to keep it on myself, because at least for me, when I first had Julian, I was back to work in 2 weeks, sit in front of the computer, doing the calls, all the things, because it was only me, right? I didn't have that. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been a mom before. Like I didn't know. So like it came down to figuring out the balance between the two. And like you said, like the village, like for me, I still do, and I'm not afraid to ask for help all the fucking time. And I'm so grateful that my family lives so close. But like my mother-in-law's over every single Monday, and ever since Julian was born, every Monday watching my kid/kids now. And then my mom's here every Wednesday. And like that's when I get out of the house and I'm working. So like that's how like my balance happened. But in the very beginning, I felt, because like you said, like my business is my baby. Like I put so much blood, sweat, and tears to like make something happen with that, like the commitment to vision. But when I had Julian, like, you know, your whole world changes, right?
Yeah.
So I felt guilty for not being there for my business, and I felt guilty for not being 100% there for my son. And then it was like this internal conflict where I'm like, well, I have to have one or the other. And I couldn't see how they were like coexisting until I found that like natural balance, because I'm so grateful for the village. And you know,
And I think that is the trick. And it's something that, you know, like I feel like right now, and like the rhetoric going around is, you know, there's people on different sides of the spectrum that think, you know, we're too committed to women in the workplace and too committed to women going back to work quickly and having their own careers and their own jobs, so they don't get to give their kids the time the kids need. And, you know, on the other side of the spectrum, coin is like, I'm going to work because that's what I want to do. It fulfills me more sometimes than being a mom does. And listen, some people have that feeling too. And I'll say I am equally as fulfilled, as crazy as this sounds. I am equally as fulfilled by being an entrepreneur and someone who started something and grew something from nothing to where it is, and being a mother. And if you think about like what those two things are, they're kind of the one and the same. Like being a mom and being an entrepreneur, like I created something and then I raised that thing, and I put time, blood, sweat, and tears into that thing. Right. So that's okay to want both. And it's okay, especially with entrepreneurism and or just like running your own show in a way. Like that's something to be proud of. And I hate the dialogue of like, well, you know, we don't do it. We're pushing women too far in the opposite direction. But really, the whole world needs to wake up and realize what an asset women are in the workplace, start providing them with the tools that they need to actually make it successfully in the workplace. Like, you know, breastfeeding opportunities, for example, easily bring your kid in low key. I mean, there's just so many things you could do, but anyway, I digress. You should be able to do both. And someone, I was recently at a workshop and that Little Words Project hosted, and someone said, I think she was like a dietitian, and she said, or nutritionist rather, she said something along the lines of like, if you wake up that morning and you only have 40% to give, and you give 40%, then you gave 100%.
Yeah.
And we have to honor that.
Yep.
sometimes you don't have 100% to give, and that's okay. I only now have 65% to give to the business and like 65% to give to the baby. And I have that, you know, I'm working on some time for myself, but right now I'm not worried about it because at the very least, I'm giving that full 65% in both departments. And I feel like that's enough.
It is enough.
And like you said, my son's going to be impressed and become a different version of himself because he got to see what I did as a woman in this world.
Yeah. And that in itself, and if it was only 5% too, like it would still be enough. And I think like what I think about sometimes is like, you know, poor little baby Amanda, like I wish I knew that back then, you know, because of all of like the internal dialogue that was going on in my mind. I mean, I had like we all have our stories, right? We all have our stories. We all have something that has given us the character that we have and has given us the mission that we have. Like it doesn't just fall from the sky. You know, like it doesn't, there's like real life experience, and it's always about just loving that version of you for where they were in that moment. And I just wish that this stuff that we're talking about right now was like in schools, or like I could have learned it at a young age, and like I could have just known that like everything was gonna be okay. Because you know, it's like I feel for everybody out there, if you're going through something hard, man, like you've gotten yourself through every fucking hard thing up until this point. So like give yourself a little bit of gratitude, give yourself a little bit of thanks. Like you can do it. You are already doing it. And if it was just 1% or 0.1%, like Adriana said, like that's enough. Right? Like that's
100%.
enough. Yeah.
I love what you just said because it's so true. Like one of the things that helped me when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me, you know, 3 months ago, none of this bothered you, right? You didn't have to, you weren't dealing with this bully or this mean girl or this situation. So even though right now you're in the thick of it, imagine 3 months from now.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I like to do even in business is I really try to not compare myself to the right or left. I always try to compare myself forwards and backwards. Like so I'm not looking at who's to the left of me, who's to the right of me, what they're doing. I mean, occasionally I'll peek over and see, but I won't allow myself. It's natural. I got to see what the competition is up to, but I won't allow myself to judge myself against them. I instead judge myself against myself. So I'd rather look backward and say and see, okay, well, you know, 6 months ago, we weren't able to do customization in stores. Now we can. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have had time to sit in the design room where I am right now and come up with new designs because I just didn't have the capacity to do it. And now I do. You know, and with that in mind, you can start to really see a vision of your future where what you're worried about or what you're dealing with right now that feels impossible, you know it's possible because you look back and you see how much you did do, just like you said. So I love that. I love the idea of looking backwards and forwards and really trying to only judge yourself against yourself. And when I mean judge, I mean reflect, not ever make yourself feel like you're not enough, because there's enough world out there. There are enough people out there that are going to shit on you and bring you down.
There's enough filters on Instagram too.
Yeah, there's enough shit in this world that will make you feel less than. And if you are not going to be your best friend and your biggest champion, who will? And who would want to be? Nobody wants to be besties with Eeyore at the end of the day. Like you have to love on yourself. You have to fill your own cup. You have to do what you got to do. If you're lucky and you have a partner that, you know, that will react positively to feedback, you know, you can let him or her know, hey, I need more of this from you to help me with these difficult times. And you just start to, you are the architect of yourself and your own destiny and your own happiness. And I believe in nothing more. And I think it does, like I said, it comes from my mom, who came from absolutely nothing in Mexico, literally like nothing. And was the only one of her 8 siblings to have a dream for a better life and want to move to the United States. And now she is like the angel that is constantly, my mom works for herself, her family, but also her family back home, and is just continuously doing what she can to build herself up, but then help people along the way. And I just feel like that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's all about the collaboration over competition. And you know what? And like it goes back to like what you were saying, like we need to empower more women to do good things, to follow their dreams, because we are the ones, not that like men don't, but like we're the ones who really give back, you
Yeah,
know? Like
we are. And we also have the energy. I mean,
yeah,
our energy as women is so much more balanced than the male energy, as much as I hate to say it. And I'm
say it, girl.
speaking as someone who has a male energy, like for sure. I think that actually I had a lot of fertility problems with my first baby.
Okay.
And when I was in that male dominating energy, I really struggled with getting pregnant. I actually had to do IVF. And then this time around, it was a surprise. Total natural birth, I'm sorry, not natural birth. That's what I'm hoping.
Not
Total,
yet.
not yet. Total natural surprise conception.
Amazing.
And I think it's because I was leaning into, as a mom, I started leaning into my goddess energy a little bit more, and just like yes, husband, do this for me. Yeah, he joined, and I got to like chill a little bit and like have a
Worship at my altar, Bill.
worship at my altar. Like I mean, I'm very lucky that I have a partner who's willing to do that and recognizes the value in that. And I mean, I think it had a lot to do with it. But anyway, that's another sidebar. Essentially, I think that women as people, we have so much more of that, just bringing in the feminine. I think the more we can lean into it, the more that people in this world can honor it.
Yeah.
I think the more like just overall happiness would live, like the more like calm and breath and air would exist, and a little bit less fire, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And like, oh my God, I feel like our conversation could go on for hours and hours
Literally.
and hours and hours and hours and hours. But like what it all comes down to is like I think we get so, as business owners too, like we get so caught up in that masculine energy because it's the hustle culture. It's literally what we learned and what we're supposed to do. Like it's just go, 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 burn the fuck out, go, 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 take a nap, maybe go to sleep, get 3 hours of sleep, go, 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 go. And then
and that's literally
retire.
what I did. That's literally what I did for the first 5 years of business. And I think it literally torched my adrenals. It torched my body. Being in that energy actually fucked my reproductive system, is truly what my brain, everything. Yeah. But if you can just, the other part of this to make it work is we as a community of women, we as a culture of women need to all get on board and need to understand how beautiful the feminine energy is, and stop trying to bring all the masculine to everything we do. Stop trying to bring the competitiveness to the women's sphere. Letting women supporting women should be something that's so ingrained in who we are. The collaboration over competition is Little Words Project's #1 value, because that is what we're all about. Not only kindness and self-love, but it is truly our #1 value, core value, because that's what this is. When you start leaning into the masculine of it all because you think that's what it takes to be successful, you lose sight of what makes women so powerful. And it's that we can get so much more done when we lean into that kindness and lean into that gentleness and really try to collaborate rather than compete. And, of course, we live in a world where Bravo makes us all believe that we should all hate each other and be bitches. Although I am a Bravo stan, I'm not going to lie. However, it's so important to just, when you're able to kind of come back to that space, really realize and recognize the beautiful feminine energy in you. And, also encouraging your men or your partners, if they are men, to lean into that with you. And like, yes, worship at my altar, honey, because
do it all.
We're going to go further together if I'm happy.
Absolutely. It's like happy wife, happy life, right?
That's the most accurate sentence ever said.
I actually, what you said, okay, and then I swear we're going to wrap it up, but you said lean into the feminine. And I think it's really important to just like put it out there, like leaning into the feminine, not just completely embracing all the feminine, because I think too, it's like that yin and the yang, like that's what makes such a powerful business. Yes. And most men don't lean into their feminine. And that's why women own businesses, like just like shoot to the stars.
Yes. But they're doing it alone. because not enough people understand or recognize that value, because we're all ingrained to believe that the only way to be successful is to be the crazy masculine hustle culture and all that stuff. I was one of those people. Now it's like, if I don't get to something because I'm watching my baby or because I'm watching myself, then that's just the way the cookie crumbles. If I don't get to something because of that, you know, because I'm focused on the me of right now, that's okay, because that is pouring into myself is what's going to get me and make me my best version for tomorrow, you know,
and that's your 65% for the day.
That's my 65%. And then maybe tomorrow it'll be 85 because I took the time to do it yesterday. Right. And that's just, it's just being very cognizant of that and doing whatever you can. You asked me about practices, like really trying to, like, for me, it's like, I can't wake up and do a meditation because I just am not disciplined sometimes enough in the morning, but I can stick to a weekly therapist appointment. You know, I can go weekly to a physical therapist as well because I want to work on my body, and I can go to my chiropractor. Like, you can kind of start to like just aggregate your team that, at the very least, if you're someone who can't do it on your own, an accountability coach, you know, someone like you, kind of just to keep you present and accountable in those moments, and guiding you through the things that you just feel like, I don't know how to do it myself. That goes a long way. And we need to, that's where you can lean into your masculine and not be afraid to pay for that, and put your money where your mouth is, and really invest in yourself.
Absolutely. And it's also where you can ask for the help and lean into your village as well. So this, honestly, I feel like there could be like a part 2, part 3, part
I know.
but I mean, if there's any like last piece of advice, tip, anything that you want to leave with the listeners that they can like, you know, take home with them today.
Yeah, I mean, this was such a wonderful conversation. It was so conversational. Like, I don't even think you really asked any questions.
Oh, it's fine. That's usually how it is.
That's how it should be. And you know, I'd say just everything we said in this podcast, I really feel was some of the stuff that I really have learned over these past 10 years and this past decade, which has been a journey from very, very intense to a little bit more going with the flow of it. And I think the sooner you can learn that in business, and the more you can just be okay with when things go south or sideways, the better you'll be. So just really trying to remember. And I learned that actually in birth is, you know, we as women, we're the birthing women, we're the river. We're just flowing, and our team should be our banks, and they're supporting that flow. And so as an entrepreneur, especially as a female entrepreneur, as a mompreneur, you need to lean into being that flowy river. Say what you need to say. Don't worry about who's going to be annoyed. Just do you, and you will feel like you're doing the right thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like that.
And that'll help you continue. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And where can they find you and your beautiful bracelets?
Yes, you can find so the brand's name is Little Words Project. You can find us at Little Words Project on Instagram, all social media, TikTok, all that stuff. You can go on our website, littlewordsproject.com, to purchase bracelets. And then you can find me separately, Adriana Carrig. So at Adriana Carrig on Insta. I'm not really on TikTok, though I do be scrolling. And, you know, if I could be of service or help to any female entrepreneurs, you don't even have to be female. I can help men learn how to be in their feminine, which would be helpful for them too. But you can feel free to DM me. I'm an open book and love chatting.
And we'll make sure to give them a follow, order some bracelets for yourself or a friend. All of the links are below. And everyone out there, I just wanted to thank you so much for spending another Thursday with me. And always remember that you are you, and that is your superpower. Love you guys, and see you next week.